Scranton, Massachusetts native Farah Pandith heads up a unique State Department initiative to prevent radicalization among Muslim youths worldwide. Working first for Condoleezza Rice and then for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Pandith has been widely recognized for her innovative approach to fighting terrorism at a grassroots level by winning the war of ideas with Muslim youth.
Secretary Clinton at the State Department has asked me for the first time in history to engage with our embassies around the world. So it's a global mandate in which we are engaging with Muslims based on the President's framework and vision.
Congratulations.
How's it going?
The idea that we are thinking about the people-to-people approach, that we're looking at the grassroots, the fact that we're thinking about the diversity of Islam, that all things Muslim are not one thing. We want to create relationships in a time of non-crisis, not in a time of crisis. Those messages are ringing very true to many people. 1/4 of our world's population is Muslim, and it's very important that we are building bridges now.
Sorry, 1.4 billion people are Muslim.
Yes.
So, Farah, you have a Facebook website. I suppose everyone now has a Facebook account. Yours is a little bit different. There's a very active debate right now on your Facebook account about whether or not you should be wearing a veil.
Yes,
in,
there is.
in your photographs and in your work constantly. Do you feel that there's tension or contradiction between being an American woman, and being a Muslim?
Well, I want to say very clearly there is no contradiction between being an American and being a Muslim. I'm very proud to be an American, and I'm very proud to be a Muslim. And I grew up in this country from the time I was 1.5 years old. And I know how amazing a country we have. And it is the strength of our Constitution that provides the ability for every faith in this country to practice their faith freely. I've often said you can be more Muslim in this country than any other country on the planet. Our Constitution protects those rights of freedom of expression and freedom of religion. That's our country, and it's a wonderful place, and I feel very privileged to be part of it. As I think about the conversations that are taking place on Facebook about the Secretary of State choosing a female in this role, and knowing very well that there are many conservative societies that I go into in my job. One has to be respectful of the local cultures and the issues that surround that cultural norm. But it's also important to understand that the opportunity to choose is critical. But I respect a woman who wants to cover. I respect women who decide not to cover.
Tell me, where is there the greatest trust that you find between the United States and the Muslim community, and where do you find the most skepticism, the biggest challenge?
You know, I think one of the things that's really been wonderful for me is, I've been talking about this issue of how diverse the world is in terms of Islam, and there's not one monolith. A Muslim in Sao Paulo is as important to us as a Muslim in Spain, as a Muslim in Malaysia, as a Muslim in India. We are not picking and choosing which Muslims are more important to us. That has resonated very, very well. Indeed, too, is this idea that youth matter, and that we're listening to young people. I mean, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter, and I have to be. And there are many other formats that I have to be on as well, because if I say that I want to be transparent and I want to listen to your ideas, I need to be able to have that dialogue back and forth, and that's been a great success.
I know that's one of the major parts of your portfolio, is to deter people from becoming radicalized within the Muslim community.
When we think about the issue of radicalization, and I'm glad you brought it up, because the one consistent piece around every one of those conversations is that they're navigating through their identity. What does it mean to be modern and Muslim? What is the difference between culture and religion? This is a generation that has been defined by a lot of external things that are defining Islam for them. And they're using the online platforms to get answers to a lot of those questions.
I was going to ask, what is the role that the internet is playing in this whole process of radicalization?
There are many things that contribute to radicalization. It's not just the internet, and there's not one formula. I remember after 9/11, everybody said, if somebody's poor and uneducated, that they become radicalized and become a violent extremist. Well, guess what? Look at what we've learned over the course of almost a decade. That isn't true. The indicators for radicalization, depending on what community you're in, what happens, who you're influenced by. Those
Especially
things
here in the
change.
United States, we've seen exactly the opposite. Some people enjoying the American dream have become radicalized.
It really, and that's so important to understand. So you cannot just say it is this that leads to radicalization. There are a lot of variables, but when you ask about the internet, it's critical to understand that there are more voices online that are teaching kids how to become violent extremists than there are alternatives for that.